Hi, I'm Maddie. I'm an American living here in Lyon for the year. I'm an English teaching assistant. So one of the big things that surprised me when I arrived in Montpellier, I arrived on a Friday, and the person who dropped me off at my dorm warned us that a lot of things aren't open on the weekends and that things definitely aren't open on Sundays. So it kind of had this apocalyptic idea of like, prepare for Sunday, make sure you have food. And we just moved in. So that was just super bizarre for me because everything's open all the time in the United States. Also the time that the French eat dinner, I mean, granted we were very jet lagged, but my friends and I went to go get dinner at like 6 o'clock maybe, and I think they opened the restaurant for us and looked at us very oddly, like how we were eating at that hour. We just had no idea what was happening. Even now, like the restaurant's only open at 7. One time in Lyon, I made a reservation for 7 o'clock, and we just walked in and they kind of looked at us funny, like, why did you even make a reservation for a Thursday at 7 o'clock? You don't need that. Another thing that shocked me, when I stayed with my teacher, it was when I first witnessed that lunches are the main meal of the day. I'd always been told that, but I'd mostly cooked for myself last time I was in France. When I was staying with him, I ate with them, and so the lunches were huge. They'd leave me lunch to cook myself that were huge, and dinner would be like a small like endive salad or something. And it was the first time I really saw that difference between lunch and dinner, which was very funny. And all of the yogurt. Like yogurt's very much a breakfast or a snack food for us, not like a course in between the main and the dessert like it is in France. I think it took my stomach a while to adjust to how much yogurt I was eating. University was different in part because the school I went to back in the US was beautiful. My school in Montpellier was not the prettiest. We were out in a little like temporary classroom too, so it was quite the experience. But it was interesting there because me and a lot of my American classmates thought that some of the French students were really rude in class. They'd be like turning around talking to each other, and the teacher would kick them out. We saw sometimes it was because they couldn't understand the professor and he interpreted that as them not behaving, but sometimes they were literally just talking in class and didn't care. It was super bizarre for us. And then here in Lyon at my schools, I work at a middle school and a high school. One of the biggest differences for me, well, A, is the schedules. And middle schooler or high schooler back home would have class from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. full, like just every day. So that's weird for me. Another big weird part is lunch. An hour-and-a-half long lunch for me is so long. Like, I want to take a nap at the end of it. In the US, school lunches are like half an hour long. 3 courses to lunch. And the food they serve is so different from American lunches. I love it, but it's very bizarre to me. The like classroom management systems are also very different. The carnet, we don't have anything like that, or at least at the schools I went to, we had nothing like that. If you got in trouble, you just got sent to the principal's office. And the teachers are a little bit more distanced, I feel like. At least some of the teachers at my middle school, they don't get along with each other. I feel like there's a lot more teachers that just come to work and leave immediately after. And yeah, just the classroom management styles are very different. Maybe it's the schools I'm at, maybe it's the cultural difference. I have one teacher who will kind of make fun of the students to get them to be quiet, which is quite effective, but I'm not sure they would be allowed to do that in the United States. So I felt homesick a couple times. A lot of times they were travel and stress related. I just kind of wanted to give up and move home to my parents' house. When I first arrived in France, the very first time in Paris, I had no idea what I was doing. I was super homesick. I just wanted to go back home. I didn't know what I was doing. Another time was when I was traveling from Italy back to Montpellier. I missed a bus to get home, and I was stuck in an airport, and I just really did not want to be there. I just wanted to go back home to my own bed. And then in Lyon, right before the Christmas vacation, or on my way home for Christmas vacation, a flight was late and I missed another flight, and I had to stay the night in Chicago, and again, I just wanted to be home in my own bed. And then on my way back, when I got back to my own bed here, to my empty apartment after spending 2 weeks hanging out with my parents in fairly close quarters and my little sister, it just felt so empty, and I definitely missed my family. Other than that, I think I'm pretty good at distracting myself. There's enough fun things about France that I don't get too homesick. And when I'm home, I then miss the food here, so. A lot of Americans think the French are very rude, which, I mean, I've studied France and French culture for 8+ years. I didn't really think that was true, but the very first time I showed up in Paris, I asked someone for directions. I didn't think my French was very good, so I asked in English, and they gave me directions kind of briskly and kind of dismissed me very quickly, and they didn't sound quite right to me. So I went and asked someone else and tried in probably very broken French to ask them for directions, and they went above and beyond to help me. They gave me a map, they circled the spots, told me how much it was going to cost, sent me to buy the ticket, and just helped me every step of the way. So I think it kind of comes down to the language barriers. American people want to come to France and just speak English. They don't even try. So I mean, I don't blame French people for not wanting to deal with that. I wouldn't want to deal with that. But I think it kind of is a pride thing back and forth. An old silly stereotype from the United States is that French women don't shave their armpits. No idea where it came from. I think it came from like my parents' generation. No idea. I've not found that to be true. Not that I look at that many people's armpits here. Another cliche is that the French dress really well, or really formally dressed all the time. I thought wearing jeans and sneakers wouldn't be an option really, but it's pretty normal, right? Though if anything, the French dress a little bit more conservatively here. If I'm wearing a skirt that I would wear normally back home in Seattle, often I'm trying to pull it down here. I feel like it's not quite as appropriate sometimes.